What's up, everybody? Hope you guys are doing well so far today. And in this video, I want to dive a little bit deeper into some salary cap stuff because it's a pretty good time given what's happened in the last couple of days with a few players on this team. I'm talking mainly about, I don't even want to call them polarizing anymore because they're not really polarizing, they're just disliked by a vast majority of the fan base. But we have almost certainly seen the final game both of these guys are going to play in the 2023 season. And the question is, have we seen their final game as Seattle Seahawks, period? I'm talking about Jamal Adams and Dwayne Eskridge, or D. Eskridge, or whatever. Who cares what he calls himself now? But his mom calls him Dwayne, so I'm going to call him Dwayne. Yeah, both their seasons are almost certainly over. We would have to make it to the NFC title game to even consider reactivating them, and if we did, I don't know if we would. We, at that point, wouldn't have a lot of room on the roster, and they might not even be healthy at that point, so if they're not, it would be moot. So, let's review the salary cap ramifications of keeping these players versus moving on from these players, because now is as good a time as any, right? We might not be seeing these guys again. We might be looking to move off from them this offseason. In fact, I think it's overwhelmingly likely that that is going to happen. So let's start with Jamal Adams. This is the interesting one because this is, I think, the number one thing that needs to happen this offseason. Moving on from Jamal Adams. Even if he is still good, and I'm not going to say he's been terrible this year because he hasn't, even if he is still good, even if he can get back from all of these injuries and get to a state where he's a good player, we don't seem to have a very good understanding of how to use him. And even if we did have a good understanding of how to use him, he has now finished 3 straight seasons on injured reserve. And the only reason why he didn't finish his season on injured reserve in 2020, the first year he was here, was because he was playing through injuries that probably should have put him on IR, but he didn't want to miss the playoffs. So let's take a look here at the Jamal Adams thing, because if we are not willing to acknowledge the fact that it is in our best interest to move off of Adams and free up some cap space and free up the roster spot and move on, then it's pretty much impossible to imagine that this team is going to be willing to acknowledge any of the changes they need to make, right? It's like when you're trying to make a budget. There are things that are hard to cut out, but then there are the things that are easy to cut out. And if you can't acknowledge that you're supposed to cut the easy ones out, then how are you ever going to do the hard things? Because Jamal Adams, no matter how you do it, you're saving a decent amount of money. So I'm pulling up the Spotrac page here. You guys know Spotrac, I'm sure. They do wonderful work. There is a little bit of a question of how you want to do this with Jamal Adams. And most of this information is very well known to Seahawks fans because a lot of Seahawks fans are counting down the days to where we can move off of Jamal Adams. But let's take a look at it, just for posterity's sake. If the Seahawks release Jamal Adams before June 1st, then the dead cap hit is about, call it $21 million. It's a little bit less than $21 million. Call it $21 million. And the savings are a little over $6 million. So, not huge, but $6 million would cover most of your rookie contracts cap hits. It would cover, I think, most of your rookie salary cap hits outside of your first round pick, plus maybe your UDFAs. That is still significant. That matters. If the Seattle Seahawks decide to do it with a post-June 1st designation, which is something that doesn't really cost you anything extra to do, it's not like you actually have to wait until after June 1st to do it. You just need to do it with a post-June 1st designation. That dead cap hit splits evenly across 2024 and 2025. So it would be $10.4 million dead in 2024 and then $10.4 million dead in 2025, which would mean that in 2024 your cap savings go up to $16.5 million, which is, that pays for half of Geno's cap hit. That pays for, another way of looking at it would be almost all of Draymond Jones's cap hit. That would pay for a couple of free agents. That would pay for a lot. That would probably fund your entire rookie draft class plus UDFAs plus maybe a tiny bit more. So that is going to be the interesting question this offseason. Now, most people are going to say post June 1st, post June 1st, post June 1st. I'm not so sure. I am not so sure because I kind of want to just get this over with. And my point of view is this: the Seahawks defense is bad. The Seahawks defense is bad as is. And it doesn't seem like it gets any better when you spend a ton of money on it. So just spend less money on the defense for a year, get the Jamal Adams cap hit over with, and then in 2025, maybe we can consider doing things in a slightly different way. But I want to get this over with. I don't want Jamal Adams' cap hit bleeding over into 2025 if I can avoid it. And this is doable. Eating 21 million dead on Jamal Adams is something that we could do. It will be uncomfortable, but guess what? We put ourselves into this situation, we can get out of it this way. So that's going to be the discussion because there's no trading Jamal Adams. You're not going to trade Jamal Adams and save money. As you can see, the trades are equivalent to the release. There's no difference whatsoever. So yeah, that is the exact monetary decision that the Seahawks have to make here. And I kind of feel like I want to do pre-June 1st. Just get it over with, flush it, and accept that 2024 you're not going to have a ton of money to spend. You're going to be eating a lot of dead money on maybe a player like a Quandre Diggs as well. Maybe Draymond Jones even. Just eat the dead money, get it over with, accept that you're not going to build some super expensive defense next year that, by the way, building a super expensive defense the last several years has not helped you. So what do I care if you build the defense out of spare parts? Just do that. It won't be that much worse. It might not be worse at all. So that's the Jamal Adams side. That's the part of this that is kind of interesting. If he has played his last game as a Seahawk ever, then this is what we're staring down the barrel of. Now, if you go to Eskridge's Spotrac page, this is much easier because there's only one consideration to be made here. Eskridge, if released, Dwayne Eskridge, dead cap hit of about 422,000. So call it a little over 400,000. Trivial in the grand scheme of things. Means nothing. Cap savings, if released at any point or traded, makes no difference. About 1.5 million, $1.5 million. That would pay for, that would pay for something, right? That would pay for a hypothetical second round picks rookie year. That would pay for maybe day two picks. That would pay for maybe a minimal contract you offer, like a backup tight end or something like that. Somebody you bring in for depth purposes. Like, that's something. Now, again, if Eskridge was giving you anything, or excuse me, Dwayne Eskridge. I've been conditioned into calling him Eskridge because everybody does, but I want to call him Dwayne because that's his name. Dwayne Eskridge was doing something for you if he was actually returning kicks and doing jet sweeps the way that we saw him be able to do it against the Niners this year. He'd be worth that all day. But bottom line is, he's not. So why not just free up the cap space? It's not like we have some big needed receiver. DK, Lockett, JSN, Bobo, and Derek Young could be your five going into next season, and I'm feeling great about that. That's one of the best receiver cores in the entire NFL. So those are the financial ramifications if these guys are truly done. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys would do. It's a pretty binary decision in my mind at this point, but let's hear it. See you guys later. Go Hawks.